Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to this dose of celestial goodness. As always, thank you for joining me in this space and on this journey. I hope, as always, that you're doing well and taking time to savor the experience of living. I also hope that you're doing your best to take care of yourself in all the ways, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Now, what that looks like may be very different on different days. Some days you might be at 20%, and other days you might really be able to give it 110%. Do your best. As my mom would say, that's really all that you can do. It does seem to me, though, that 2024 has somewhere to be, because these days have been zipping by very quickly. I really just can't believe that it's mid-March and it is 2024. I blinked and here we are. 4 years ago, around this very same week, I'd walked into my workplace for what would be the last time for at least 17 months. Yes, the panini started 4 years ago. It turned all of our worlds upside down. And yet, here we are. 4 years later. There are also those moments when my brain truly thinks that the 90s were like 10 years ago. That's pretty wild. And then how can I forget that brief period of maybe 3 years of my life where I was telling people that my not so little brother was 19, even though he had definitely passed 21. It was very funny to me because he was like, I can drink. I was like, what? What did you grow up? But anyway, what is time, you know? In the sense of an ending, Julian Barnes says, I know this much, that there is objective time, but also subjective time. The kind you wear on the inside of your wrist, next to where the pulse lies. And this personal time, which is the true time, is measured in your relationship to memory. And soon all of these days will be but a memory, and we will keep transitioning in and out of seasons, chapters, days, and events. People will come and go, some will stay, and either of those things will be a beautiful thing. In essence, everything is fluid, moving, changing, and transitioning. And even now in this hemisphere, we are emerging out of winter and into spring. And despite the very constant assault on my sinuses, spring is definitely one of my favorite seasons. Everything starts to bloom again, and it comes alive in grand spectacle. My apartment has a really great view high above my neighborhood, and it looks off into the horizon. And this vantage point offers me a very spectacular opportunity to spy on the transitions of the seasons. What I've learned, though, is that seasonal transitions are never sudden. One day you get up, and amidst the bare trees, you notice something green yearning to come into the world. The colors in the pond below, they also change. It seems like it changes colors with the weather and with the season. In the spring, the water looks almost indigo. And then one day, everything bursts into bloom and the whole world looks technicolor. I love it. The greens are greenier, the flowers look more vibrant, and for those of us who need an abundance of sunlight, the days are longer and brighter. Spring will always come without fail. And that is the topic of our conversation today. Spring always comes. The dawn always comes. And as my own boss reminded me one day of a passage from the Tao Te Ching, high winds do not last all morning. Heavy rain does not last all day. And I say this because some days are inevitably tougher than others. You ever have a day where you wake up and you're just struggling to summon the ability to feel cheer? It's not like a depression, it's more like you woke up tired, cranky, and maybe a little bit more irritable. Everything, and I mean everything, starts to feel as if it's conspiring against you instead of for you. And let me say that when these moments happen, it does seem to create a domino effect. You might spill coffee on a clean white shirt, you might stub your toe, and then you may have to deal with the most idiotic things and people. And I don't like to call people idiotic, but there are days, when it rains, it pours. And yet, this too shall pass. Be not defeated by a bad day or even a bad chapter. Know that things can also change for the best. I may have actually spoken about this before, but it's worth repeating. And there is also a story out there in the world about not looking at things as either good or bad, really as things that are just happening. This is the story of the farmer and his son. A farmer and his son had a beloved horse who helped the family earn a living. One day, the horse ran away, and their neighbors exclaimed, "Your horse ran away! What terrible luck!" The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not." A few days later, the horse returned home, leading a few wild horses back to the farm as well. The neighbors shouted out, "Your horse has returned and brought several horses home with him. What good luck!" The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not." Later that week, the farmer's son was trying to break one of the horses in, and she threw him to the ground, breaking his leg. The neighbors cried out, "Your son broke his leg! What terrible luck!" The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not." A few weeks later, soldiers from the National Army marched through the town, recruiting all the boys for the army. They did not take the neighbor's son because he had a broken leg. And the neighbors shouted, "Your boy is spared! What tremendous luck!" To which the farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." Now, I don't know why they're always in the farmer's business, but that is between the farmer and them. But I think it highlights the point that sometimes we do need to see or switch our perspective and get ourselves in a different mental space. I recently got a new book. Shocking, I know. And this is definitely one of my favorite authors, if not my favorite author, Paulo Coelho, and it's an inspirational companion to his book, The Alchemist, and it's called Maktub, as you can see here. The rough translation of which means it is written. On the back cover of the book, it says, "Today, somewhere, a treasure awaits you." I love that. And the other day, maybe today, I was in a mood. And I happened to walk by and glance at the book, and I saw that. And the words really caused such an emotion to swell up inside of me, and I had to take a deep breath and just say yes. I released some of those pent-up emotions I was holding on to. Let me not lose sight of today's treasure, holding on to energy that truly does not support my well-being. We might feel defeated by a day, a week, a month, or even a chapter in our life, but we cannot stay in the space of feeling defeat. And that's really because things do pass, days pass, and there is so much life yet to live, so much to experience, so much to feel exuberance for and about. We simply must not let certain circumstances cloud our vision to the beauty that remains in this life. And also in Maktub, one of the stories, and it is a book of short stories, very beautiful tales, says this. These words are written by the cellist Pablo Casals. Each day I am reborn. Each day I must begin again. For the past 80 years, I have started each day the same way. This is not a mechanical routine, but something essential to daily life. I go to the piano, I play 2 preludes and a fugue, I think is the word, by Bach. It is a sort of benediction on my house, but it is always a way of reestablishing contact with the mystery of life, with the miracle of being part of the human race. Even though I have been doing this for 80 years, the music I play is never the same. It always teaches me something new, fantastic, unbelievable. I love that. So, many years ago, I wrote an article for a friend, and a portion of it says this. As Florence Scovel said, who I love, "It is dark before the dawn, but the dawn never fails. Trust in the dawn." Many of us spend a great deal of our lives planning. It's me. I'm everyone. We make plans to graduate from high school, then go to college and get married, have a family, buy a home, build a white picket fence, and then retire. We never plan for divorce, for the death of a close loved one, the crumbling of our business, or the crumbling of our dreams. No one talks about the pain and despair of watching everything that you have ever worked for dissolve, as if it all meant nothing. As a society, we do not talk about the time that is necessary for some people to grieve after the physical death of a loved one or the death of a relationship. We expect people to always be strong and to face each day without any weak moments. We encourage people to believe that failure is not an option, when sometimes it is the outcome. We see people going about their daily lives, and oftentimes we know nothing about the struggle that they face beneath their smiles. We do not realize that they're in a dark place in their own mind. We do not realize that depression is a reality for so many people in our society. We don't realize the crippling effects that many people are facing when life is not going according to plan. A dark moment or dark patch in a person's life can truly make all hope seem lost. The perception of a failure can be too much to bear. We do not encourage each other to see that from our darkest moments could actually arise some of our greatest accomplishments and lessons. We simply are not encouraged to trust in the dawn. You know, after you've gone through your darkest moments, or you've gone through the valley of the shadow of death within your own soul, you will arrive at a point where you'll realize that you can only see the stars in the darkness. You have to let them guide you and remind you that you are part of something much more. They will remind you to be humble because you are a tiny part of a much larger whole. But then they will also remind you that you are great. They will remind you that you have gifts that are unique to you and that you ought to share them with the rest of humanity. The stars will shimmer and hope will arise in your heart. You will remember that each morning the dusk gives way to the dawn. These are the lessons that we learn in the dark: strength, perseverance, resilience, determination, and courage. When the dawn arrives, you will be stronger and wiser than before. You will realize that in your life, many things will happen. The good, the bad, and just the downright ugly. And most of what transpires, a lot of it will be outside of your control. You will experience the entire gambit of emotions, everything from love to anger and all that is in between. But those moments of darkness, they will teach you that no matter what happens, change comes, and you have the ability to react in the positive or the negative to anything that you face. Whatever happens though, never ever ever give up. Look up to the sky and remember that the dawn is coming, and with it your joy. John Steinbeck said, "Somewhere in the world there is a defeat for everyone. Some are destroyed by defeat, and some made small and mean by victory. Greatness lives in one who triumphs equally over defeat and victory." So as always, may the stars shine brightly over you until we meet again, and may you not be defeated.